Happy 4th of July, everybody. I know I am really late with doing my patriotic tours, but your patriotic items can stay out until Memorial Day. Of course, unless you're like me and you start decorating in August for Halloween. But maybe you can keep some of the ideas for next year if you are already decorated, which I'm sure most of you are. We've done so much work outside, it put me really behind on the inside and getting the tours up, so please forgive me. Well, let's get started without any further ado. Some places I just put some flags in my plants, and up here in the window you can see I put those two little Vintage USA small vases in the window with my two little Patriotic vintage ones that I've had for, gosh, ever. And of course you saw this cupboard over here. I did do a separate video of that early in the year, and I might have changed a couple little things, especially down on the bottom, because I moved some bowls around. I put that blue and white enamelware pan and lid that I got at a yard sale there, and I put some of my blue jars down there, and the little truck with the flag that a friend did us several years ago. But I always love this cupboard. Y'all know I tell you that every time. And on the table, of course, you know I'm going to have some Anna Lee's. This beautiful glass pitcher is one that our son got us many years ago when he went, I can't remember whether it was the Bahamas, Bermuda, one of the island trips he went on. He brought it back to us, and we do have the matching glasses. And it's just perfect for the patriotic summer. And in the two-tier tray, I have the Sweet Uncle Sam Patriotic Johanna Parker pieces. I still never got the teapot. Maybe one of these days I'll luck in and run into it at a yard sale. Wouldn't that be wonderful? But I just love the bright red and blue, and they look perfect in the white tier tray. And I did put one of my vintage restaurant creamers with the red around the edge, and that is a vintage little bow, as is this is a vintage little flag right there. I just love the sweet face on this bell, and of course we made the firecrackers there, but I just love that. I moved things around a little bit on that and put those sweet salt and pepper shakers on the top. And my plants are still there. And I put a lot of my green bowls under there. And under the white tier tray, I still have the red stripe bowl. It's kind of a rusty red with some of the red handled utensils. I brought back my antique strawberry print. Have the little Old Glory wagon, and I still have my wonderful whispering collection there. And I just added a few patriotic touches. There's a vintage 1903 souvenir postcard with the flag. I put it down in the shoe brush. I'm going to get back so you can see all the strawberries. That wonderful sign we've had from several years from Tuesday morning, which is no longer around. I'll go in close and show you. There's that cute strawberry thermos we got. And my roosters and chickens stayed out. And there's that beautiful green and white teacup that we got. I can't remember if that was last week or week before last. Since there's green with the leaves of the strawberries, I thought that looked great with the strawberries. And there's the vintage doily that we got early in the spring at a yard sale. And the terremoto pieces go perfectly with the strawberries. Some of them have strawberries on them and some of them have polka dots. And inside you'll see the green and white enamelware pieces we got at the yard sale. And I kept the juicer out, the antique juicer. And I kept the Be Kind tart burner out because I don't have a Patriotic one or another summer one. And bees are out year round, so that is just fine to be out. You'll notice this 4 I saw on a home tour at Michelle's home on Uniquely Vintage U. She had some of these 4s and they were made out of old wood. Well, we didn't have any old scrap wood, so on this 4, John used an old yardstick and painted it red for me. And then there's that red clock we got at a yard sale recently. And of course, more sweet Annalise. And that chicken came from a yard sale. I'll get back so you can see all of this. I've got the vintage coffee mills and the sifter up there. And here are some of my wonderful little English crockery. And these are some of our very favorite Patriotic vintage pieces. I think they're just precious. And some Ray Dunn. And there's the Patriotic Polish stoneware creamer we got at a yard sale earlier this year. I forgot to turn that little Patriotic tree on. And more of our vintage salt and pepper shakers, the Uncle Sam's hat. And the Texas pottery pieces, which we love. And the little ship pieces, those are vintage, sailboat rather. And of course, more Anna Lee, and that is a vintage flag right there. And there's Uncle Sam. And down there, I left the Pyrex bowls with the eagles on it, and one of the coffee meals. And you can see those buttons we got last week ended up in John's vintage bubblegum machine that we got a few weeks ago. He had said something about putting the buttons in the bubblegum machine. I said, yeah, buttons would be great in there. Well, first thing I knew, he took that big, huge tin of buttons and the little butter dish of buttons and put them in the bubblegum machine. I never got a chance to look at them, but that's all right. I didn't have the heart to tell him that I wanted to look at the buttons first because they do look good in there, and someday I'll get to look at them. And the star piece of pottery, that is a robe pottery piece, and that is another vintage flag with some of my old utensils. And in this 2-tier tray, I have my vintage cherry pieces. And there's the little adorable Anna Lee on a cherry pie and the vintage George Washington postcard. And the piece in the back is hand painted. The one on the right hand side with the cherries, that's the piece that Todd sent us. And then there's that sweet cup and saucer we got. I don't remember if that was last year or year before last at a yard sale. And over here, I have a few more of my vintage cherry pieces, that little box and the salt and pepper shakers. And then there's my sweet daddy right there. And there's the thermos we got recently and a little coffee pot. And there's my mom and daddy. And there's my little Bibles, including the one on the right is my little New Testament that I had when I was young. And there's the glass jar we got this year, the water bottle for the refrigerator, and that sweet little enamelware coffee pot. I'll go all the way up because I did change up here. I added the blue spatterware bowl that we got at a yard sale or church sale, I can't remember now which. And I added a red and white towel and a little star, added the little scale and the little tiny berry pot and another one of my blue bowls. I'll open the door so that you can see in here. My butter molds, the little vintage teapot and pitcher, and some of my vintage cobalts in this cabinet. And of course, I told you, Luna's gonna stay out all the time. Just love those sweet faces. More of the vintage cobalt glass and vintage ironstone. And you can see those pearl handles of that fish set we got a few weeks ago. And this wonderful little made in Japan piece with the little flags. More ironstone in one of my marmalade crocks. Another one of those George Washington perfumes. More ironstone and the beer crocks in the back. The little vintage chickens and the vintage English bloater paste. And I forgot to turn the little candle on there and here. And more vintage cobalt and a vintage teapot. And down here in the back, I have some of my vintage blue and white plates and this beautiful vintage bowl with my mashers or beetles, depending on what you call them, sitting on one of my blue and white plates. And my one and only tomato spoon in that old ironstone pitcher. And there's that beautiful bowl we got recently. And our butter churns are still there. And then I put cherries in that vintage bowl. And there's the sweet Uncle Sam. I'll do the living room tour after I finish this tour and upload it. I did put the rag garland right there. And over here, I pretty much kept this the same, except I set the rooster lamp on that wonderful green Longaberger basket, and I put the 3 hens on the nest that we've got recently there. And of course, Mr. Piggy is still there. And I put all the English cottage ware and motto ware on that shelf. And then the next 2 shelves has Ray Dunn yellow pieces and bee items. Those are breakfast dishes in the dish drainer. That's life. There's the wonderful bowl, Roseville bowl that we got this past weekend, and it's sitting in that Longaberger. No, that's not a Longaberger. That's the other basket company. Excuse me. It's sitting in that basket with some towels. And there's the creamers we got recently, and my wonderful salt glazed pitcher, and the little chicken creamer, rooster creamer is still there. And up here I kept the yellowware bowls, and I put the crows, the pie crows right back, pie birds. And on this shelf is more of the beautiful Texas pottery. Just love that. And that is a vintage hanky right there. And there's one of the little sweet bells, vintage bells. And right there's the other one. And just some of my Patriotic mugs. And there's John's little truck light and the vintage Betsy Ross tea. And that sweet little Patriotic bunny, Nodder, with his Uncle Sam mask. Up here is just some Patriotic and red and white or red and blue items. Some's Longaberger, some is Ray Dunn, and some are, I think that's all of them, Terremoto. Yeah, some of them are Terremoto, and Polish pottery. I kept the spice print and the chicken pictures there, along with my spice tins. And I just put some Patriotic mugs right there. And I put our filters in the vintage crock. And this over here, you have seen all this in a separate video. Up there's all our blue and red thermoses. Vintage pieces. Some Longaberger. Some Ray Dunn. Some English pieces. Some ironstone. My beautiful Watts pitchers. I still haven't found a Watts bowl that I can afford. My apple sifter. And there's the Ray Dunn birdhouse with the little ladybug that Deb sent me. And I still have all John's birthday coffee tins out, and I just put some apples in the jars. So this is all of the kitchen tour, and I'll be back soon with the living room. Love and blessings to all of y'all from me and John and baby boy. We're going to see you again soon, and I mean real soon. Bye-bye.